Hey Sassy Heads, Sandra here and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be working on a DIY bullet journal, and I'm going to show you guys all the supplies I will be using to basically create my own notebook that's going to be used as a bullet journal. I'm using this punch by the Happy Planner. I am also using this paper that I picked up at Staples. It's 80-pound cardstock, but looking back I wish I would have gotten paper that was just slightly thicker for this project. And then I also picked up some grid paper. Well, I didn't pick it up, I printed it out. I also wish I had printed it out to spread across the page, but you'll see what I mean as this video goes on. You're just going to go ahead and take that punch and punch through the paper. You want to do one paper at a time depending on the thickness of the paper, because this is not necessarily the best quality punch, but I already had it and it made this project a lot easier, so I figured I would use it. But just keep that in mind, you don't want to jam your punch, and this will not punch through laminate, so thin paper for the win. I'm also using some old rings that I had from a leftover Happy Planner that I had in my stash. I figured, I might as well just put them to use and make some sort of project with them. Keep in mind when you're putting the paper on these rings, you don't want to grab too much paper at a time because you could bend or rip your paper doing this. I kept trying to remind myself of that because you just want to be very fast in this process, but you also don't want to be so fast that you mess something up. And if you don't have a spare of rings lying around to do this with, you could also pick these up at your local craft store. I will leave some links in the description box below where you guys could also pick these up as well on Amazon and so on. And so once I had those on there, I continued to put the paper on there, being careful not to put too much paper at a time, but just, putting it through the holes and being careful as I'm doing it. And then I had this piece of 12 by 12 scrapbook paper that I did pick up at my local craft store, and I decided I wanted to make a cover with that. So I just laid down the paper that I already had, which I knew was a perfect measurement, and instead of measuring that, I kind of just eyeballed it, which is kind of my thing, and I just went ahead with my pencil and marked where I wanted to cut. And depending on the size of bullet journal you do, you don't have to do the exact same sort of layout that I do. You could even do one that's smaller. That's what's going to depend on the size of your cover. So if you want to measure it out and have precise measurements, and you can go ahead and do that, but for the sake of how I like things, I was fine with just kind of eyeballing it. And I did do a front and back cover to match, and of course I did that off camera just to save some time. And then I'm going to go ahead and punch through these. I'm punching through these separately because, like I said, this punch can't really take very thick paper in my opinion, and you want to make sure that you have the back side the correct way, your pattern lined up so it's not backwards. That has happened to me before doing projects, so I was like, not today. And then I pulled out my laminator and I went ahead and turned it on, and it was going to turn green when it was ready to go. You can't really see it on camera there because I had to move it, but it was ready to go and the little green light did come on eventually. You want to make sure that when you laminate something, you make sure that your laminator gets hot enough so you get a really good seal on that. And you want to make sure that when you're cutting, you're not cutting too close and you're leaving space on the sides, so you're not getting too close to the edge of your paper, which is why I decided to laminate both my front and the back of my notebook separately, because there wouldn't have been enough space for them to have adequate plastic basically going around the line of the paper. And then I'm going in with my We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile. It's basically like a paper punch but like more heavy duty, and I'm going in and punching through the holes. And since I already punched through the Happy Planner one originally, it kind of creates a guide for me to know where I want to punch my holes. And then I'm going ahead and doing that, cutting the slit with the scissor as well, so that I get the same sort of look that I would get had I punched out with the Happy Planner, and you can't even really tell the difference. I will leave links to all the products that I use in this video in the description box below for you guys, so if you have any questions or you don't see anything there, just leave me a comment. So now for the fun part, it's working inside my bullet journal and showing you guys some of the ways I want to customize it for me. And part of the ways I want to do that is to create some pockets inside of my planner. I always think it's fun to have extra little storage spaces kind of hidden away, and this is a perfect example of that. I had this piece of acetate that I also got at my local craft store, and I just lined it up with this sheet so that it kind of matched up with it, and then I kind of created more of like a rounded sort of pocket. For whatever reason, I freaking love rounded pockets. So I just kind of eyeballed it, but you can use something like a bowl or something rounded if you have issues with rounding things out and having it look pretty decent. It's not perfect, but it definitely looked good enough to me, so I definitely used it as is. And then I used my Tombow Extreme Adhesive, which I really like this adhesive because you can kind of not really see it through the acetate, which is a really nice feature, and also it is stuck on there, you guys. When they say it's extreme, it is. And as you can see, a pair of stickers fit there. You can even put in a stamp set if you wanted. And speaking of stamp sets, we're going to use the one from my shop, TheSassyClub.com, and only because I think it honestly saves a lot of time. People don't realize, but doodling actually takes more time than it looks. Whenever I see these beautiful bullet journal spreads that I see people do online, it's crazy the amount of time it actually takes to finish and keep up with those. So what I'm basically trying to say is that I find it a lot faster to just use stamps sometimes to kind of go a little bit quicker. I am going to be doodling a lot in this layout itself, but I wanted to save myself some time on this portion of it. And honestly, you don't have to do as many things as I did as far as doodling. If you want to keep it even simpler for the sake of time, then you can go ahead and do that, because this is more because I like things that are pretty. So I spent more time doing this because of that. I went ahead and kept that border monochromatic because I just liked the way that it looked, and then I pulled out my Tombow markers so I could write my name on this. You don't necessarily need to have a page that has your name on it, but I like to do it because most planners you buy have that, and I always thought it's kind of cute to just have your name in your planner, so I decided to have a specific page for it so that when you flip it open you see it. And because of this paper being a little bit on the thinner side, these markers weren't the best for this paper, but had I used the paper I normally always do that's on the thicker side, these markers would have been just fine. So that's another lesson I learned while doing this little project. If you use Tombow markers with the wrong sort of paper, it will feather your paper, so that's why I say that I kind of like realized it wasn't necessarily the best paper, but I didn't go crazy with my shading, so thankfully I didn't end up messing it up or anything like that. But I did realize after writing that it did go through, and so I do end up switching to another pen momentarily throughout doing this project, so you're going to kind of see me switch it up, which is something that you can always do when you're doing a project. If you don't like how something is looking or the way it's coming out, then switch it up. And now I'm just creating a little bit of filigree, like leafy sort of kind of circly looking leaves to just kind of round about the bottom because I thought it would look really cute, and it does, so I'm happy with that for the most part. And you're going to see throughout this video that I do a lot of things in pencil first before using a pen. I know that not all bullet journalers do this, but I honestly don't know how people don't do this, because whether I'm creating a design for a stamp or something that I'm designing, I always feel like I have to do kind of like a practice run by doing it in pencil, and then if I like it, I just go over the pencil and erase the underneath if there's any leftover residue from the pencil. I'm creating a key, which is something that is basic to bullet journaling. Most people use this so that they can remember what certain things stand for, like tasks are squares, circles are events, but by no means do you have to use this. I feel like this is part of it, but I don't know if I'm going to use all of these, but I decided to do them nonetheless and see kind of like get a feel for what I like and what I don't like, and depending on what I use or what I don't use, then I might end up, updating my key at some point in my bullet journal. This video is intended to show you guys how you can make your own kind of notebook for bullet journaling, not necessarily to show you all the basics of bullet journaling. So if you want a really in-depth look into that, I will link the original creator, Ryder Carroll, in the description box below so you guys can get more information if you want to know more of the rules and things that go into it. But I kind of tend to keep things how I want them, a little less structured, and I just wanted to do it in my own way. There's also a specific notebook that you can buy for bullet journaling, so you don't necessarily have to make your own, but I just thought this would be fun and easy to do, and I had most of the supplies in my stash, so just keep that in mind. This is definitely just kind of like a fun DIY project that I did because I wanted to, but you don't necessarily have to do it just like this. And as you can see right there, I added a floral header to the top of my pages. I actually die cut those using a planner header die that I created that mostly fits more traditional planners like a happy planner, but I was able to use it there, and all I did was cut off the excess, as you saw. And as you can see, most of this page that you're going to see me doodling in, I actually used pencil with first. As I said before, I mostly do this so I can edit as I go. I just really like being able to change it up if I want to, and I did decide to do my month at a glance because I didn't feel like I needed 2 whole pages dedicated to my month. I don't have so many things going on that I need to have a whole month to itself, and I figured like a month at a glance sort of page like I'm doing on this, you can kind of still write the things that are important for the month without necessarily having all those numbers and boxes, if you know what I mean. So now I'm just doodling some scallops and creating some lists, like a to-do list. That way that's like my to-do list for the month, because obviously my day-to-day stuff I can have in my weekly, but I wanted to have an area for anything that was important for that month. Hence why I didn't need a whole, 2 pages for a month only, because I kind of had this, which is like a hybrid version, and I'm creating a little box with some dimension behind it. I'm using the Inkjoy gel pen for this. I really like this pen. You just want to be careful that as you're writing you don't smudge what you write, because it does take a moment moment to dry on the pages, especially depending on the paper that you use. And then in between using that one that has more of a fine point, I'm also using the calligraphy pen that I love, which is a Tombow brush, and I will link all the brushes that I use down in the description box below for you guys. I always get questions about this, and as you guys know, I'm kind of like a lover of pens, so I love having different options and different tips and sizes so that you can kind of doodle different things at different dimensions, and it makes it just a little bit easier for doing that. And then I'm just having a little section for important dates, so I can put things like birthdays or if you have a business meeting coming up. And then I created a little kind of hill area because I wanted to have a bunch of little flowers and fun little doodles there. I also decided I wanted to put a quote inside the hill itself because I figured that was kind of wasted space and I didn't need a ton of space for certain things going on in this month, so I figured why not do a quote. And you guys know, if you watch my videos, that I love adding kind of positive quotes and affirmations for my planners, whether I'm using a regular planner or a bullet journal, like on the days I don't have a bunch of stuff going on, because I think it's really fun. And I just added this quote by Nelson Mandela because I thought it was really, relevant to me, and I'm always trying to put things that kind of just inspire me to kind of work harder at things or reach farther for things that I really love. So I thought it was the perfect quote, and I figured it just kind of filled up that area perfectly. So really love the way that that turned out. May your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears. I kind of think that's a perfect quote for life in general. I don't care who you are. So, and also I'm going ahead and sketching out the banner here. Certain things I don't always sketch out, but since this was my first time doing a bullet journal, I kind of wanted to make sure that I liked it. So I wanted to just, not end up messing up any pages. And I'm using this Sakura watercolor palette, but I honestly didn't necessarily love the way the watercolor kind of looked. I kind of like more of a translucent, opaque sort of watercolor, and this one kind of looked just, I don't know, different to me. And since I'm so used to using that Michaels one I use all the time, I ended up switching back to that one mid-video, so you guys are going to see me do that. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for watercolors that you like, leave them in the comments below. I love to know what other people try as far as products goes. I'm using, like I said, this is like a $5 or $6 watercolor palette. I don't know why I can't say water today. I keep saying wallow. Forgive me, y'all. But yeah, I really like the way that this is turning out. I decided to add some green to the hill here. I tried to keep the colors kind of like going with the theme of the florally thing going on that I have. And the header, keep all those colors kind of cohesive in general and create a little hill. And I just kind of added stuff where I thought it needed it. I added some gray to the boxes to add just a little extra dimension to all those little box areas, as well as the little characters, because I love adding little shadows to areas. I feel like they kind of just waken up that area. And then I also have that stamp set which has a little sun, so I decided to use it for my little weather forecast box because I just thought that would be cute. And then I'm using the same little blue cloud from there as well, which is available in my shop, and I'm using the ink from my shop as well in the color Bluebird. So I really love the way that this is turning out and looking, and I decided to add a few little extra details of flowers stamped around just because I feel like you can never have enough flowers. So that page is done and ready, and now we are going to be working on my tracking page. I decided to try this out. I don't know if I'm going to stick with a daily tracker or not inside a bullet journal. I already have one that I use in my planner that I stamp, but I figured I would just do this for funsies because I see people make habit trackers all the time on Instagram and I always think they're really cute. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it and see if it actually motivates me to actually do these things. But since I already have more than one, we'll see if I keep up with it. And I stamped those letters using one of my bubble stamp alphas that I created, and I decided to add some shadowing as well just for fun, just to make it look a little different. And then I went ahead and started adding numbers, and then this is when I realized, since I didn't stretch out the grid to fill the whole paper, I didn't have enough of those boxes for my month. So I ended up kind of just leaving it as far as I could. There's like 3 days missing from there, so just keep that in mind. If I had used a blank paper, I would have been able to fit all the days inside the actual boxes itself, if I can talk. So YOLO. I just kept it as is. I still think it would be useful anyway. A few days isn't going to make a huge difference to me if I don't track it. So I also decided to add a section to track my moods. I mean, because I'm a woman. Oh my gosh. But no, seriously though, not all of us are happy all the time, nor are we sad all the time, and sometimes we're meh. So I figured I would have a section for all those things, and whether you're a guy or a gal, It's kind of nice to be able to track to see how you've been feeling throughout the month, to just kind of, I don't know, get an idea of where your moods are, for the same reason that people track their sleeping patterns. Like, it's just interesting to know the information, I guess. So I figured I would do that, and I just added the word mood, and then I was going to add the word tracker as well, but I decided to kind of do it a little different and create like a little banner area and just do it like that, and then add some washi to the bottom of this page because I thought it would look really cute, and I love florals. As you guys know, this washi is also available in my shop, and I just think that it just adds a little extra something. I wanted to keep the page itself on the simpler side, so I figured I would just add a little washi just to give it a little something something. And then I'm just adding some watercolors again just to color these in. You want to keep in mind that with the ink gel pen, you can make it kind of run or smear by adding water, so you want to be careful. Since I did add the shading close to it, I was trying to be careful to make sure that I didn't make it like smear or end up ruining my page. So just a little tip there. Whenever you're using any sort of medium, you want to keep in mind whether you can use that medium with the type of ink, because certain things really aren't compatible. Sometimes I try to force it, I'm not even gonna lie, but generally you want to be really careful because you can quite easily ruin something, you know, trying to force it. And I'm using that same floral stamp set from the one I did earlier in the day, and then I also just finished coloring it in off camera, so really like the way that looked. Then I also have this unicorn stamp set. I wanted to use the banner from that stamp set. That was one of the freebies I did for the month, and by the time this video goes up, it should probably be coming back into the shop in a few days, so if you're interested in picking that up. I really like this because it was really a lot faster than drawing my own banners, because I'm lazy. But no, seriously though, I just thought it was a lot faster, and I like the fact that I could do it in these different colors. All those inks are from my shop. Most of them are a mix of my jewel tones and then my summer colors as well, so like 2 different sets. And then I decided to do the half banner as kind of like for the dates. I thought that would be cute, and I just kept those all the same color. I kind of at first didn't know what direction I was going with this, but I kind of just went with it and saw what I liked, and then decided to start putting in the days of the week in each one of these banners. And I used the little arrows that I drew as kind of a way to kind of make the areas sectioned off a little bit more, and I like the way that turned out. And then I also decided to have Sunday and Monday on the same area because I don't really have a lot of stuff going on usually during the weekends, so why not minimize the space I use up for that. And then I just went ahead and wrote weekend on the top of there because I thought it would look cute. And then I just went ahead and just added a few little lines there, and then I was deciding what else I wanted to do. I decided I wanted to add like a little box on the top of that area that was empty and kind of make it like a little scene, sort of like a little pond scene, because why not? And I did have a lot of florals and hills going on in the other one, but I thought it would be fun to do something just slightly different in this one, so I went and lined it with my ink gel to create like a kind of whimsical box. And then I used my weather stamp set that I have so I could mark the weather for every day of the week. Because I live in Arizona, it should mostly just be the sun, but you know, I can get a little creative, take a little creative license here. It is windy sometimes, so I decided to do that. And then I added the swans from that Swan Body Loves You set and create that little lake scene that I was talking about just for funsies, because I thought it would be cute to look at. And you know, if I have a scene for every weekly layout that I do, it'd be fun to look back at all of them. So assuming I can even keep up with all this, but we'll see, you know. And then I added that same cloud there, and I stamped it a second time without re-inking it, and it created that dimension, which is referred to as second generation stamping, which I really love to do because it creates kind of like 2 different tones, like a lighter tone and a darker tone for the clouds. So I really like the way that looked. And then I'm just using some watercolors to just color some things in, add the lake, add some more little like water in the grass kind of thing going on, whatever. And then coloring in the little swans and making them kind of like a gray. And then I added a little banner at the top of the page just because I wanted to, and then I'm going in and adding the numbers for the days of the week, and I kind of decided they needed a little more, so I ended up doing little circles around them as well. But anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, be sure and give me a big thumbs up. Let me know what you guys would like to see next, or something you'd like to see me create in a bullet journal. I love to hear from you guys, or if you have a bullet journal yourself. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, you want to be sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. I'm showing you guys the flip through of what I did because I did change some things up that I didn't show you guys, like adding a quote there and covering that page so you couldn't see the bleed through that ended up happening from that page. So I really like the way it turned out, so it all worked out either way. And then I did a little doodle by the side that I decided to leave monochromatic, but I can always go in and color it in if I changed my mind. Then, as you guys can see, my weekly pages as well, just to give you guys a better look at how they turned out. I really love the way they look. I wrote in some things as well that are going to be happening during that week, so depending on when you guys see this, I don't know when you'll see this, but then it might be old, I don't know. And then that's the die that I used for those headers, as you guys can see if you're experienced with that, and I just ran that through my little machine. And then I created another pocket, which I didn't show on camera because I had run out of battery, but I figured I would show it to you guys now. It was really simple to create, and I eyeballed that as well. Again, if there's anything you guys see here you want me to do a tutorial on, I can always do that, but I figured most of the stuff is pretty simple, but you can let me know. I'm always happy to oblige, and I really love the way the habit tracker turned out as well. And I just kind of thought this was super cute. I don't know if I'll keep up with it, but I'm gonna try because it's really cute. This is a brain dump page I randomly decided to do, added a bunch of paint and little doodles and kind of like a little journaling area, because I know I'm gonna use this more for journaling and kind of doodling than anything else. That's kind of like what I figure I might do that for. And then it has an extra little pocket in the corner there that I think is kind of perfect for keeping like something small in. So really loved this process. If you guys want to see anything else created by me, let me know in the comments. I'm also on Instagram as well as Twitter, and I have a Facebook group, so if you guys want to see more of what's going on or the products I release in my shop and sneak peeks and things, you want to follow me on those as well. I will have them linked in the description box below, so don't forget to become part of the Sassy fam so you don't miss out on anything new. And thank you guys so much again for watching. Bye y'all.